There we go. Okay, so we are looking at week 6. We are in week 6 already. So we have 3 weeks, week 6, 7, and 8 um, left. So that's either really scary or really exciting, depending on how you think about it. Um, and so everybody's getting the announcements because I'm posting the announcements. I thought I posted a welcome to week 5. I don't know what happened to it. I was in Florida. I don't know. But welcome to week 6. We're here. And I will do a check-in. Like I was telling the group that's here for this session right now, everybody's doing a good job. Just keep up on your assignments, which most of you are doing, and you're doing them thoughtfully and creatively, and showing what you are learning on the week 5 quiz. I think almost everybody got full credit for their answers, so that was really good. The breastfeeding one was good. A lot of students just copied and pasted, but that's okay. But then the Erickson one about development, do you pick up the crying baby? If you answer the question as you're supposed to, which is according to Erickson's trust versus mistrust, then yes, you pick up the baby to meet their needs and foster trust. So you guys did a nice job with that. So good job. This week we are moving on to early childhood, which is going to encompass toddlers and preschoolers. And hopefully, as we start to go through, we did infant last week, and we're moving on to toddler preschooler. We're going to also cover middle childhood, which is the school age child, like 6 to 12 years old, and then move on to adolescence. And what I'm hoping is that you will take all those other concepts that we've talked about in the prior weeks in the first half of the class, all the theorists and the communication styles and the being able to research and looking at evidence-based practice and the family structures, all those kind of things, and be able to apply them now to these growth and developmental stages as we go through them, so that it's not just memorizing, for example, when they can feed themselves with a spoon or stand up or walk or those types of things, but really be able to take those developmental milestones to notice if there's a delay so that we can do early interventions, which is really important, or in addition to be able to use that therapeutic communication or to recognize family structural problems and make referrals, help people to work through those to foster growth and development. So that's what I am hoping for you. So this week, again, this is week 6. And I have the course objectives. I will add the walkthrough. This is last summer's walkthrough. And once this is done recording and I get the transcript done, I will post this here on the overview page. It takes you back, this link will take you back to the week 6 module. And these are the course objectives that are covered this week. So everything always goes back to objectives. So we start out with early childhood. And this is actually a lesson walkthrough, whatever you want to call it, from last summer, which I'm not going to re-record because it specifically speaks to the lesson, which really hasn't changed much at all. So watch it. Hopefully it will help you. If you have questions, you know how to get a hold of me. I'm happy, sign up for my student hours or just private message me. And I'm happy to answer questions. And so early childhood, we're talking toddlers and preschoolers. You need me? Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. It's my son. Be safe. And then, so looking at the physical characteristics, the milestones. So this is where we bring back in Erickson and Piaget and Kohlberg, those early developmental theorists that you read about in week 1 when you first studied the theories, and now they'll start to come back and we'll put them into perspective in the assignments and activities. And then that Kohlberg for moral development. We're also going to look at anticipatory guidance about developmental milestones, as well as nutrition, proper nutrition. So that will be covered in all the age groups, the developmental stages. And we often, I don't know if, does anybody know what anticipatory guidance is? What that means?
I don't.
Uh-huh. Sorry, it's Petunia. Come here. Come on. Come here. Was that Uncle Ian? Was he? Sorry. I'm sorry. Don't say yes, you do or you don't.
No, I don't.
You don't. Okay. So anticipatory guidance is guidance, right? Right. We're going to help people, right? But anticipatory guidance is guiding them in order to anticipate what is supposed to happen. So when we talk about developmental milestones, for example, walking, we'll take walking, as the infant or toddler, usually around 12, 13 months. It depends. The son that was just here started walking at 9.5 months. The other one started walking at 13.5 months. The other one was right on, I think, 11.5 months. And so anticipatory guidance is where we would educate the parent that, hey, you would expect to see this particular milestone when they are 12 months old. So they should probably be walking, taking some steps by the time that they are 12 months old. That way, if they are not taking steps by 13 or 14 months, then hopefully they will know to call the pediatrician. We would have told them, hey, if you don't see this milestone, and they're in the lesson, there's a CDC app. There's a couple different places that you can go. There's Ages and Stages, Bright Futures, all these different resources that I've provided you with, so that the exact ages that things are, the age ranges where things are supposed to happen. So that way, for example, if we talk about the preschooler, so when we're talking about 3-year-olds, that's often a time when they should be fairly verbal or getting to be verbal, talking, starting to be pretty social, those types of things. And so if we're not seeing those things, we might be thinking along the lines of autism. So we don't diagnose. That would be a physician who would diagnose, but we do screenings. So by doing the anticipatory guidance of saying, hey, your child should be saying so many words by the time they're 3 years old. They should be playing with other children, if not together, interacting at least next to each other, parallel play, some of those types of things, so that the parent, if they don't see those things, will know to follow up. So that would be anticipatory guidance. And then also talking about nutrition, right? Nutrition is something, we have the food pyramid and different things. I'm pretty sure hot flaming Cheetos are not on the food pyramid anywhere. I see so many more kids these days eating like hot flaming Cheetos and Diet Coke, Diet Cola, whatever, all the time. That's not really very good nutrition. But if you take my health and social justice class that I'm teaching, the other class I'm teaching this summer, we talk about food deserts and accessibility, access to things, and what people have available. And one of the assignments that you're going to do is a toy evaluation for the toddler and the preschooler, and I'll walk you through that because we're going to talk about safety. Right? What are safety things that we need to teach parents about, and things that, based on developmental levels, that they're able to do, but may not, and other things they may not be able to do, so that we can provide safety for them. And so you have your reading. Again, these books, these resources that you go to are all fairly similar. So if there's one particular format that you like better, if you feel like you're reading the same thing, you probably are. I just put them there because some people like some formats better than others, but they're pretty much all the same. So whichever one speaks to you is good. And then the assignment, let's take a look at that, is the early childhood toy evaluation. I've actually had students doing this for several years, and they really do a nice job. It's really, I think, especially if you don't have kids, it's really interesting to look up different toys online and see what the age ranges are, and if there's safety hazards, things like that. So you are going to, these are the goals, objectives that you're going to be covering. And you're going to take on the role of the health provider and help parents of a toddler and a preschooler to choose developmentally appropriate toys for their children's birthdays. excuse me, and you're going to take into account cognitive, psychosocial, developmental, and safety aspects, which again, going back to the theories, right? And so are all toys safe? There's so many toys, different things now. Oh my goodness. The phone is not a toy, just to be clear. The apps and games on the phone are not considered developmentally appropriate toys. And how can you educate parents about the developmental benefits as well as safety features? So you're going to actually do this twice, once for a toddler and once for a preschooler. So you're going to have two different tracts here. So you're going to research toys on the internet, find a toy that you like, that you think will help develop the fine motor skills, and one that will develop gross motor skills. So when you're talking about fine and gross motor skills in the lesson that will be described, fine motor skills are things that you do with your fingers, like where's my pen here? When we have a pen, that's a drawing, writing, that's a fine motor skill. Cutting with, I think I have scissors here. Yeah, cutting with scissors is a fine motor skill. See that there? It's fine motor because it's fingers. Building blocks, things like that would be fine motor. Gross motor skills are things like throwing a ball or running or riding a bicycle, tricycle, things like that. And so we're going to look at fine motor and gross motor development because both of those are things that we look for developmentally. There are certain milestones that happen with fine and gross motor skills. And so for each toy, so I've got a toddler, so I'm going to say a 2-year-old, and I'm going to find a fine motor toy and a gross motor toy, so 2 toys. You can choose one toy that has fine motor and gross motor skills with it, but I think that gets confusing sometimes. So I think it's better to choose 2 different toys. So you want a link or a picture of the toy so that I can see it, and then describe the toy. What are features that appeal to the child and the parent? For the respective toy, which aspects promote the fine motor development, which ones promote gross motor development. So for example, if we're talking about, I don't know, just say building blocks, I guess, those are the fine motor development because we're taking our fingers, we're holding the block and we're stacking it on top of each other. And there's actually, according to a child's age, so many blocks that they should be able to stack in a row. And then what specifically promotes gross motor development. This is the one I love, cost. How much does the toy cost? Does it seem reasonable? Are there different prices on different sites? So I'll have students go and look at like Target, at Walmart, different the actual toy manufacturer, sometimes go to the Fisher Price site or something like that and see what the prices are. And does it seem reasonable? Is it a good deal? Or Amazon's another one. Is it reasonable? Are there different prices? What are the safety features? Safety, aspects that provide for safety and those that may not seem safe. So blocks, if you have wooden blocks, I don't know if they get wet, maybe that's a problem. If they're really heavy and you throw them, that might be a safety issue. Depending on how big they are, they might be a choking hazard. But I feel like blocks are pretty safe. But as you get into some of these other type of toys, I don't know, the bat and ball, like the wiffle ball, like plastic, on the stand, and the kid has a bat, and that bat, even though it's plastic and filled with air, still could be, if they hit somebody, that could be not safe. And then features that appeal to Piaget's pre-operational stage. So you have to go back and look up Piaget. And then features that appeal to Erickson's autonomy versus shame and doubt for the toddlers, or initiative versus guilt for the preschoolers. So things that are making them like preschoolers for the wiffle ball, that's initiative. They can put the ball on the stand. They don't need the parent to do that. They could do that, and then they can hit the ball. And then they can decide, maybe if I swing hard, it'll go farther. If I just like tap it, it just falls off. That would be initiative. And then it gives you a summary there. Toddler, 1 fine and 1 gross motor toy, answer questions 1 through 7, and then preschooler, same thing. And then it actually gives you the different stages, the pre-operational, so you have that information right there. So you don't necessarily have to go back and look it up. It's provided for you right there. And then there is your rubric, and it's worth 10 points. Any questions on that particular assignment? Think it might be fun, maybe?
No, no questions.
No questions. Okay. Okay. Thought you were gonna say no, it's not gonna be fun.
Oh, no,
It
sorry.
might not be fun. No, I don't know. It might not be. I mean, school fun. I don't know. I try. And then so that's that. And then your journal. You get to choose one of these two things to write in your journal. So there's a section on neurodiversity and the double empathy problem. You know, you could write about that. That's in the lesson. I'll show you that real quick here in a minute. And then the Children's Health Defense nonprofit organization has to do with vaccines and vaccine safety. So you could look them up and see how you interpret the data that that they have presented. Where do you think you're going? Oh my goodness. Are you just gonna lay down there? Okay. All right, let's go to the week 6 lesson. Now what are you gonna do? Yeah, you're stuck. Uh-huh. Okay, week 6 lesson. There you go. There's the lesson. The lesson is there. Do you see is it 6.1? The week 6 lesson that you see?
Yes.
Yes, okay. You can do a thumbs up or anything like that is good too. So these are the objectives that we run over, the reading again, the activities, and the journal, and then here's the lesson. So you have some PowerPoints, and as always, please let me know if you can't access these, because sometimes I can access them, but you can't because for whatever reason. And these are PowerPoints that I've used for a long time. The information really hasn't changed. Different parenting guides, what parents need to know for different ages. And then Kohlberg, talking about Kohlberg's morality. Children in this stage generally are trying to avoid punishment. They really don't know necessarily good from bad at this stage. They just don't want to be punished. And then it goes into, the lesson goes a lot into autism spectrum disorders, neurodiversity, different, you can click on the pic. It will take you, I like click on the pic. It will take you to the link, talks about autism, neurodiversity, thinking of it in terms of neurodiversity or being neurodivergent. And then double empathy is another concept that's explained. And so there are double empathy, meaning there's a mismatch between if I have autism and you don't, I have perceptions about myself as being neurodivergent, and I have beliefs about you as being a non-neurodivergent person. Same thing as you. You're not neurodivergent, and so you think of yourself in certain ways. I am neurodivergent or have autism or I'm autism spectrum, and so you have certain ideas about me. Well, the thing is that we always talk about, well, not always, but we have to talk about being, about both of us having empathy, about trying to walk in each other's shoes. That I, as the neurodivergent person, it's not all about me and I'm special and I'm different. Yes, I take that into account, but I also have to think about, hey, wait a minute, it's, you know, that other person, Veronica, for example, you know, I need to kind of see how she thinks, which is difficult for a person who's neurodivergent. So that's what this article talks about. So I thought it was really a interesting concept, and it's not just, it doesn't just apply to being neurodivergent either, right? It's just in everyday life. And then a video here, a TED Talk. I love TED Talks because they're short and they're sweet. They're to the point. A lot of them have great key points. So there is the TED Talk, and then developmental screening. So these are different. This is 14 months, 16 months, 18 months. So this is the toddlers and preschoolers here. And this will give you, it'll be in the other video, it will give you guidelines as to the developmental milestones. Again, bright futures. These are specific questionnaires for parents. And then different videos that show things that 2 and 3-year-olds should be able to do with fine and gross motor skills, with language skills, different play milestones, and then preschoolers' growth and development. And then I thought this was interesting, media and children, because boy, is that changing. Like every day, I feel like that's changing. And what is that leading to? Is it leading to depression and anxiety? This talks about recognizing depression and anxiety in 3-year-olds, 3 to 8-year-olds. I mean, I just wouldn't have ever thought of that, but it's important to recognize. Being able to recognize child abuse in different age groups, effects of divorce, statistics about growth and development, about children from divorced families. Excuse me, that's one of the reasons that we talked about family systems theory, because that can play into growth and development as well. And then your nutritional guides, and then different health screenings. What are different vision, hearing screenings, things that 2 and 3, 4-year-olds, 2 to 5-year-olds, there we go. What year should the screenings be done, and when and what do we expect from the screenings, vision, hearing screenings. And then in terms of vaccinations, I update this every year because every year now they have new recommendations. And so this is the link to the CDC and the immunization schedule. And this gives you birth to 6 years old, which covers us up to a school-age child. And then there's also different vaccine information statements. So these are the papers that you hand out with the vaccines, or that you're supposed to. And I always make sure that my students, I'm trying to find, let's see, let's try Hep A. I'm always trying to make sure that my students are handing those out, because sometimes the nurses don't actually, or the MAs don't actually hand them out, and they're supposed to. And so this would be the vaccine information sheet. They come in all different languages. Like if you go and find, the different language, like all different kinds of languages, like Farsi and French and all kinds of, it's amazing. And then this is the information about the Children's Health Defense mission. And so this is a good one. It talks about, could be one of your journal entries if you choose to do this one, looking at the types of how many vaccines were, how many doses, how many were given, say, for example, in 1986 versus today. I know between my children, my oldest and my youngest are 9 years apart, and they had different vaccine schedules. So trying to keep up with it. And nowadays adding, we had the flu and COVID and all, and Hep A now, it's hard to keep track of everything. But if you look at the schedules, it shows you, that the number of vaccines and the doses just keeps increasing, and the number of different types and boosters just keeps increasing and increasing. So if you go to their website, it gives you some of their research related to that and the outcomes that they've seen with that. And then there's also the vaccine injury reports. So if there's any adverse reaction, that, like a rash, for example, or if they have a stomach ache or nausea, vomiting, that's where the side effects on that information sheet come from, is from these reports. So it's important to encourage the parents to report those. And then we move on to the middle child. Wait, let me go back. Sorry. Early middle child. Go back to the overview. Right, and so we were on early childhood, right? And so there's that tab. We covered all of that. And so then we'll move on to middle childhood, which is the school-age child. And again, more informational video there, are objectives, the readings that go through the milestones and what to expect. Again, choose which one works for you the best. And then there's not an activity specific to the school-age child, so that's nice. And then your journal for week 6 for the middle childhood, though, is thinking about suicide in the school-age child, which is really kind of scary, right? I think we think about suicide happening especially with teenagers. We talked about in postpartum depression or postpartum psychosis, and we talked about pregnant women and those who just had their babies and adults. But there's an article, where better tracking and prevention is needed. And so what are your thoughts on suicide rates? Yes, there are suicide rates in 5 to 11-year-olds. And are the reasons you thought they might be? What can we do to increase early recognition, interventions, treatment options? So that would be your journal entry. And then when we look at the week 6 lesson for the school age child, same type of lesson. We have the course outcomes, the lesson objectives, again, looking at physical characteristics, because now we're 6 to 12. So we're talking what, first grade, first grade to maybe junior high, somewhere in there, 7th grade, 6th, 7th grade there. And so a lot of children, especially, I want to say I think I saw it most in 6th grade for my kids. They had a teacher, we were in Ohio at the time, and they had a teacher who at the beginning of 6th grade would have all the students line up against the wall and write their name and a line of what their height was. And then he would have them go back at the end of the school year, find that line, and then draw another line and write the date. And there was at least 1 to 2 inches of growth just in that one school year. So that's really amazing. And then girls can get their periods as early as like 9, 10 years old. Just lots of different physical factors. And then Erickson, Piaget, things now that we're thinking about in terms of cognitive and psychosocial development and moral development. And then health and safety of school age children. So just a review of the reading, no assignment, there's the journal again. And then PowerPoints, what parents need to know for these different age ranges. More on Kohlberg and morality for the school age child. They're fitting in. They want to fit in. They don't want to be different. They want to be the same as the other children as they get ready to go into adolescence and trying to figure out their identity. And so then again, the Bright Futures questionnaires, more videos for you, excuse me, for the school age child, and then more information on vaccines. This is the 7 to 18-year-old. So this covers school age child and adolescent vaccine schedule there. And then child abuse in this age, nutrition, also looking at signs of drug use or drug abuse in children this age, which again is really sad. I mean, that could be something that's leading to the suicide numbers that we're seeing. But how do we teach, parents? How do we provide anticipatory guidance to parents for what to look for in those children? Any questions so far on either toddler, preschool, or the school age child?
No questions.
No questions. Thank you. Still good. Okay, and then let's talk about the teenagers. So we'll go to adolescence. Again, video. Excuse me. And again, looking at the changes, puberty, oh my goodness, hormones and teenagers, oh my goodness. Like I was saying, the girls can have periods as early as 9, 10. And what that means is that if you have a period, then you could potentially get pregnant. And so I think the youngest child I've ever seen was 11 years old. But I think I have articles in there that talk about 12-year-olds that are pregnant. When I was in nursing school back in the dark ages, in the 80s, mid 80s, I did, one of my projects was doing a prenatal exercise class at Mount Zion Hospital, which I think is still there. And that was where I saw the 11-year-old. She came to the exercise class. So not judging, just, we do what we can to support them. Because that is dangerous for mom and baby as well. Again, there's your reading, and let's do the journal, right? So after studying the lesson on adolescence, if you could create a health class to educate a teen on a health and safety issue, what would you think about? And again, it doesn't have to be necessarily totally all in depth. It's just to get an idea of things that you could, based on the lesson, based on the things that you looked at from toddler, preschool, or school age now to adolescents to teenagers, and taking into account their growth and development. What class or what topic might you want to teach them about? What age, what topic, and why? Um, how would you present the information? Are you just going to talk at them? That's not very good. That's why I like teaching online, but the interaction sometimes just isn't always there. And then how do you know that they learned what you taught? Right? That would be evaluation. And so for us, for example, it would be on the quizzes, what is the score on your quizzes? And also on the activities and assignments that you're doing, what is your understanding? Do you write 2 sentences or do you write 2 paragraphs? And does it make sense what you're writing? And hopefully it's not all AI. Let us look at the activity assignment. This is another one that I've been doing for a while. Students seem to enjoy it. And it's effects of being houseless on the development of the adolescent. So I think, especially in Salinas, I don't know, especially in Salinas, but in Salinas, there is a homeless population. There's a lot of people in Monterey County. When I was growing up, I don't think there were as many homeless people, but I was pretty sheltered growing up here when I was growing up here. But in Salinas, I see it. There's a lot of homeless people, and in Monterey, I had the joy of working with a gentleman who actually died of a heart attack 2 years ago. Oh my goodness, it's been a while. Who promoted love and empathy for the houseless people in Monterey County. And we would have breakfast on the beach, and we would provide different supplies for them. And it was just really a learning experience. I think one of the best things to do, or that matters, is just talking to a person who's homeless, sharing a meal with them. That just means everything to them. And so what we're going to talk about here with this assignment is actually looking at a teenager. You could even talk about young adult. There are students, I don't know the percentage, I probably could look it up, or you could look it up. There is a percentage of students without housing at Hartnell College. And I'm sure at MPC and GAV and Cabrillo, all of the community colleges around here, but I just didn't think about it until I was trying to do this, make up this assignment. And so, being houseless can affect the development of the adolescent. They already kind of are struggling with, who am I? What do I want to be? What do I want to do? What are my peers doing? What do they look like? And so, any personal experiences. I'm always blown away by everybody's personal experiences that y'all share. And so write a paper, an essay that answers the following questions, right? So describe at least 2 ways that Piaget's development could potentially be affected by an adolescent being houseless. So thinking about Piaget, what stage are they in? Formal operations, concrete operations, I hope not. Formal operations, hopefully. But how does that, depending on when they started being homeless, how does that affect their development? And then psychosocial development in terms of Erickson, that would be their identity and role confusion. And then Maslow, right? We talked about Maslow with those developmental theories. And as we learned, a person needs to have those basic needs met in order to be able to move up the pyramid. I believe that was a quiz question, one of the quiz questions that you talked about in terms of how are Maslow and development related when you think about that. And so to answer that question, and then thinking about what can you personally do, but 2 things that you could do to help a houseless adolescent, taking into account the effects of houselessness on development. And then what are your thoughts on how to solve the crisis? Most students will say there is no way to solve the crisis, but many students have great ideas if we could only make them work, or had enough money, or had our wish list for things that we wish we could make happen. And so some different resources here for you to look at in order to answer the questions. And then youth homelessness hidden in plain sight is another TED Talk. And then this is my friend Brian Bajari, who passed away a couple years ago. He worked many years with the homeless and being compassionate with homeless people, and then different developmental resources there. Questions on that assignment, right? Do some research, answer the questions, do some reflection, think about development. What else? And we went through, so this is the lesson, that was the assignment, your journal entry. Again, you have PowerPoints and teaching for parents, anticipatory guidance, nutrition for teenagers, vaccines. There was an article on tweens, teens, and young adults. Drug use and misuse, again, that's a big thing. So many different drugs or new drugs, old drugs with new compositions, new drugs. I guess like ketamine, Special K would be, that's a veterinary drug, but people use it. We use it on people as well in strictly supervised situations. We use ketamine for burn dressings in children. We've done that. And it sort of gives them a dissociative state so they don't remember the pain from the debridement and the burn dressings. But people are using it off label just as a recreational drug. Fentanyl is one. Everybody's, not everybody, but people carry Narcan around. Police have Narcan in case they find somebody. They can give Narcan, which would be the antidote to wake somebody up, hopefully that they're not in a coma. And just being exposed more and more to drugs. And then drinking and driving. So 15, 16, 17, learning to drive. Shouldn't be drinking legally till you're 21, but parties everybody does. And so drinking and driving, texting and driving, putting makeup on and driving, just talking and driving, like any kinds of distractions can be unsafe for teenagers. There are laws now that, and I'm sorry, I don't know the specific ones, but where a teenager can only have, I think, a family member in the car with them up to a certain age. They changed those laws a lot. My middle son, my one that just came in to borrow my car, had a friend that, actually, I think he's had two friends that were killed on the grade, the San Juan grade that goes across from Salinas to Carmel Valley. That really hit him hard. And then this is not a real person. This is a moulage. It's a thing that they do certain, I think Hartnell's done it before, just to make the point about the consequences of drinking and driving. More homeless youth, teen suicide. I also added in the last couple of years some information about gender identity, because we're hearing a lot about transgender and gender identity. And so that's part of that identity and role confusion. And so just some videos on that. And then finally, there's a blog. Boise State had a group of students that got together and talked about adolescent and adult development. So that's just a transcript of their talk there. Let's go to go back to the module. Let me go to student. Excuse me, view a student. And 2, 3, 4, so we are in week 6, right? So we looked at the overview, we looked at all 3 lessons, and they have their own specific little videos that you can watch. And then we talked about the toy evaluation, effects of being houseless on development of the adolescent. You have your week 5 journal that you would turn in, your week 6 journal. I showed you those entries. You also have a quiz, which is open. Here are the focus areas for that quiz, talking about development. And there's a free write question as well. What else can I tell you? Yep. So look at that for that quiz. And let's go back. I thought I opened up 7 and 8, but let me double check because I don't think I saw 7. No, not yet. Okay, I thought I did that last night. So I will look and make sure I get 7 and 8 open so that people have that information. And I believe that was everything for week 6. Oh, yep, week 7. I just didn't publish it. So let me go ahead and publish the module. And so that should be there now. And let's talk a little bit about the health promotion campaign if people have questions about that. I've been talking to some students who have some really good ideas. They've really been starting to work on this, which I think is great. And so basically, we're going to design a health promotion campaign, kind of similar to the little assignment in the adolescent one, where you're coming up with a lesson, some topic that you want to teach them. And so these are your objectives. And so what you're going to do is, and I think if you probably write this down kind of like as a checklist, it will help you in developing if you haven't started yet, I would suggest starting this week. And so you want to select a health need or challenge for a specific developmental stage. So anything that we've talked about, you could do like older age, elderly, like an Alzheimer's type of thing. You could do early screening. You could do autism. You could do hearing, vision impairments. Safe swimming, safe driving, nutrition, any of those topics that, that we've been talking about through each stage. And I do have a list, I believe. Yes. So these are examples of things based on development. So for infant, the toddler preschooler, the school age, the adolescent, early adult, middle adult, and older adult. So there is a list there if you're having trouble thinking of ideas. And so we could do, let's see, we talked about, let's do school age child. So we could do health need, like nutrition, right? So nutrition in terms of like exercise, activity, healthy eating, peer pressure, those kind of things. So if we look at that, that would be our health need or challenge for the specific developmental stage. So nutrition in a school age child. I would do research and background, find information. Who am I going to want to target? Is it going to be the 6-year-old? Is it going to be the 12-year-old? Is it going to be perhaps the parents of the children? Who's my target audience for this education, this campaign going to be? And what are the rates of obesity in school age children these days? And then based on that, are there any complications that arise in adults that were obese as children? Is there more diabetes? Is there more hypertension, heart disease, cancer, things like that? And then I want to tie that into some developmental theories. So 1 or 2, you don't necessarily have to choose 2. You could choose 1 if you would like. In terms of psychosocial development or cognitive development, any of the adult stages of development, and how is that going to inform your campaign design? So for example, if I'm talking about nutrition in the 6 or 7-year-old, they are for Piaget, they would be in the concrete stage. So things are very concrete for them. They don't have out of the box thinking. So it's really difficult for them to imagine themselves or other people, if I eat this, I'm going to be overweight and then be unhealthy. So you have to think of ways to deal with that particular developmental stage, or industry versus inferiority, or if you're doing maybe the 12, 13-year-old identity role confusion, how would that inform the way that you're going to teach them, or how does that play into that? And then are there any social determinants of health? Because remember, we talked about social determinants of health. So if we're talking nutrition, is there a particular area that's a food desert, for example? Or, how can we, trying to think, access, education, economics, neighborhood and built environment. How many fast food places are there in this particular neighborhood, or access to educational services? Um, or maybe, clinics, or maybe at school. Is there some place that you could teach at school? So that kind of helps you figure out, okay, nutrition, school age child, this is where they are developmentally. These are things that are preventing them from eating healthy. Then you're going to actually put your campaign together. The campaign, can take many different forms, however you would like to do that. So your target audience and message. So what is the target audience? Is it going to be the children, or the parents, or the teachers at school, or, whomever it might be? If you're in Salinas, would you want to do something in English and Spanish? Would you want to include Tagalog or some other language? Or maybe like Mixteco or Triqui, one of the indigenous dialects. And then, what is the key message? What do you want to get across to them? So if my target audience is maybe 8-year-olds, some cute little slogan about eating healthy, or examples of food, or something like that. And then what's my strategy and tactics? So the strategies I would use: am I going to use social media? Am I going to, try to go to a community event? Am I going to ask to come to a school program and speak at a school program? So you could do different things. Now, remember, you don't actually have to do this. You're not actually going to post on Facebook or make an appointment to do something in a school. This is all on paper, in your head, ideas of things that you could do, assuming you had the wherewithal, the funding, all that type of thing, the supplies, all of that. And so I would probably want to, I don't know, maybe partner with Blue Zones, or the local health department, maybe, and probably go speak at the school. I think I might want to do that. Talk to maybe third graders, second or third graders, and do something fun with them. Probably not social media. And then what would I do? Would I have campaign materials? What would I do? Am I going to do flyers, brochures, scripts? Like, do I want to do, video, social media, Instagram or something like that, or YouTube or something? I think I might do, if I was going to do it in class, I would have activities. So maybe some coloring pages, maybe have them write stories or listen to stories, have them bring like samples of healthy foods, not healthy foods, and have them sort them into certain, what's healthy, what's not healthy, some things like that. And what do I need for that? How much of that do I need? Would I need parent volunteers to be there with me? How can I incorporate the teacher? And then develop my implementation plan. So a detailed plan for implementing the campaign. So the steps for implementing the campaign, a timeline, and roles and responsibilities. So for example, we're in summer right now, and I want to do this in school, probably in the fall, because the students will just be back from summer, probably before Thanksgiving or Christmas when they have break, or tie it into Halloween or something with trick-or-treating and too much candy. And then, so let's pick Halloween. Say I want to do this before Halloween. So that's October. And right now we're in July. So what's my time frame? So I'm going to want to contact, one or two of the elementary schools in the area, make appointments. Theoretically, you're not going to, but theoretically make appointments with the principal, talk to the teachers, maybe incorporate the PE teacher or the school nurse. If I'm partnering with the county health department or Blue Zones or somebody, contact them. And then that would be my timeline. I'm going to come in and spend, I don't know, third graders, maybe a half hour, or maybe I would come for 2 or 3 weeks for a half hour, something like that. So that's what you would plan out. And then I'm going to, ask for the teacher. What are they going to do? They're going to make sure all the materials are ready. I'm going to have some parent volunteers come in, make sure they understand what I expect of them, that they're just going to help me wrangle them to be children wranglers. And then also they could be educational stewards and be role models in their own homes with their own children for healthy eating. And then an evaluation strategy. So in order to evaluate the effectiveness, so if I'm going to put all this together, what do I want the children to get out of this? What goal, right? We have objectives, lesson objective, course objectives. We want that for this health campaign. So I would like the children to be able to provide me a list of, their 3 favorite foods, and to then identify if those foods are healthy or unhealthy, based on what we've talked about over these 3 weeks, we'll say, of half-hour classes, that they'll be able to tell me 3 foods that they like to eat right now at the beginning and whether they're healthy or unhealthy. And then we're going to do the same thing at the end of the class, and ask them to put together a list of 3 foods that they like that are all healthy, something like that. And so then I'd be able to evaluate that they understood. If they still include hot flaming Cheetos, then something's not connecting, right? If they have celery or carrot sticks, that that might be a little bit better, or something like that as a goal. And so that would be my criteria. That's how I'd know the goals have been met. I'd say maybe, if I have 30 children in the classroom, I'd want at least 25 of them to be able to make healthy choices, something like that by the end of the 3 weeks. And then if I didn't get that number, if I only got half or less than half, then I would have to go back, maybe ask the parents or the teachers or even the children, how I could make it better. How can I help connect the students to the correct information and have them make healthier choices? And then create the presentation. So the presentation, summarizing the health promotion campaign. This is what you're going to present to your target audience. So be creative. So this would be, for example, if I had coloring pages, I would, do mock-ups of the coloring pages, or, if you can find pictures of broccoli and carrots and celery, things like that online. So you could make copies of those and have the children color those. You could, I could put together a list of healthy and unhealthy foods, and have them do matching or something like that. Those are the things that that would be part of my presentation that I would present to them. And then maybe I would have 5 slides each week that we would review, or maybe I would incorporate an exercise or something, things like that. That would be the presentation that you are putting together for your audience. So what do you turn in? So you're going to turn in the campaign plan, right? Which is the document that you write out numbers 1 through 10. So we went through each way back up to the beginning, right? Selecting the health challenge. You can do this as bullet points. That's fine. It does not have to be written out paper, this part of it. You're just, everything I just talked about for my 8 or 9-year-old third grader, that's what goes in this part, answering these questions 1 to 10. That is the campaign plan. And then any sample materials like the presentation, for example, which is its own part, but my the coloring pages, let's use that for the example, right? Or if I have pretend food or something, you get those little pretend food packs at the toy store. I could take pictures of that and submit that. And then the presentation slides, no more than 12 slides. So if I'm doing, it could be more, it could be less, it could be a little less, could be a little bit more. Like if I were doing 3 weeks and 5 slides, I'd probably have 15 slides. That would be okay. If that was in your plan, that would be okay. And then make sure to include references where you got your information. And then the presentation would not be summarizing. My presentation would be what I'm going to present to my 9-year-old third graders. Right, pictures of broccoli, I don't know, exercises, things like that. That's the presentation. And then I would also include the coloring pages, pictures of food, 2 exercises, something like that. And then these are the examples of that. And then the rubric, I believe, hopefully, yes, is at the bottom of the page. And so it's worth 50 points. This divides all the points out. Basically, if you address everything 1 through 10 in that plan in bullet points, that you're golden there. And then the presentation and your evaluation plan. And there you earn your 50 points. So that would be the information for week 6. What questions do you have? If any. And no, Dulce, we've been working on your plan together. Yeah. Veronica or Carlos, any thoughts? I'm not gonna ask if you started thinking about it yet, but like does it make sense the way that excuse me, it was explained?
Yes, it makes sense.
Okay. Good.
Yes, I don't have any questions right now.
Sounds good. Alrighty. Well, you all know how to get a hold of me, and hopefully, let me stop sharing. Stop sharing. And yeah, so keep doing the great work that you're doing. Let me know if you have questions. And I'm here to support you, and hope you guys have a great week. And I will do walkthroughs for week 7 and 8 as well. So did y'all get the announcement or see the announcement for tonight in the welcome to week 6 announcement? Okay. Dulce says she did. Okay, I just want to make sure that the announcements are actually publishing, because I've been having weirdness. Thank you, Carlos. Yeah, with that. So awesome. All right. Well, let me stop the recording and